Hey y'all, hope you're doing good. So, I have been super busy lately, and it's one of those things where it's you have a busy day, and then you're like, well, it's just one day, and I've got XYZ to do tomorrow over the next 3 days. So, and then I can foresee everything kind of slowing down, and then it doesn't happen. so, so this is what's going on with me. Um, I got the Christmas tree taken down today. That was good. And I got some things that I wanted to get done today and some things that I needed to get done today, which we're going to talk about the difference there, right? But, oh, and I got this new book. I'm really excited. It's a reference book for use with the Bible. So, the first part, you can literally just think of a concept, a word, whatever it is that God places on your heart, look it up, and it's like two reference books in one. And when you look it up, in the first reference book, which is Strong's, this is pretty common, pretty popular, I think, Strong's Concordance. But you look at that word, and it gives you all the verses in the Bible that it's related to. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then the last part, or the second book included in this ginormous book, is the Vine's Concise Dictionary of the Bible, and that's really cool. Y'all know that I love my English Latin dictionary, and so this one shows you some Greek and Hebrew, and just a tiny bit of elaboration from there, and it's kind of neat to look at too. So I'm really excited about that, and I foresee using this book in the future for messages. So. But today, I want to share kind of the process that I went through in my mind, my thoughts, the path that my thoughts took to get to this message today. Because sometimes when I'm listening to somebody else who's sharing how they got to their main point, like their path there, it's like I have my own revelations taking that path or walking that path with them, as opposed to them just sharing the end point, So that's what I like to do here, which if you've seen my videos, I'm sure you know that. If you're new, I'm just letting you know that's my style. It's very, very laid back. Okay, and I'm congested, so I'm sorry. Heads up, my voice may be a little bit crackly, but fighting a little bit of a cold and sore throat. That time of the year, right? But I've also been, as part of the things that I want to do, I've been getting back into my art. And this is something that has been on pause for me for a long time now. Y'all know I used to teach elementary school art. And before that, I had a job at what they called an environmental graphics group. And so we designed signage for just really big clients, hospitals and um, different developments and things like that. And I was working my way up in that company to be able to contribute to the designs. And I was basically just editing and refining the designs that the owner of that business did. And then I would get to go and present them. Our final illustrations to these different groups, and that was really exciting and fun, and I really enjoyed it. But then I went into teaching kids art, and I loved that so much. And then from there, I went into a job where I was in management and marketing as well, and I really got to see the impact of visual aesthetics on people, because I got feedback from the customers on the regular. Like I just had to purchase, this product because, the photograph was just, I could just, it's like it was right in front of me. And so it was really fun. And I got to see how people are affected, how they're, and we are. We don't think about it, and that's why I talk about it a lot. This is my little tangent. Excuse me, y'all. It's hard to even talk, but everything we take in, everything we listen to, movies we watch, just a conversation that we're listening to that might be negative, or positive. Everything affects us that we take in, our food, obviously. And then the lack of what we take in affects us too. So, that's just been a real big part of my journey recently, is trying to be very aware of all that. And so, but art has been a very big part of my life. And I had gotten to where I was doing it for fun, as a hobby, probably 15 years ago. And then my job got super busy and demanding, and a lot of my life suffered. My social life suffered for it, my hobbies, including art, and even just time, with family. But I'm now getting back into it, so it's really important to me. And one of my favorite things to do is to draw faces. I love it. Portraits. And when I was young, I used to draw very realistic, or I would sketch, just pencil. Very realistic faces. I actually, for practice, did the cover of Anger Management. And so I sketched out Adam Sandler and, oh man, what's his name? Jack Nicholson, where they're kind of like facing each other, like facing off, and that's the cover of the movie, or at least it used to be. And I sketched it, just to challenge myself, and I still have it somewhere, but it was a lot of fun. But I've sketched a lot of other portraits as well, people I know, and a book that I have that teaches you how to do that, and I just enjoy it. Now, though, I prefer to just sketch faces and see, what happens. I don't look at a reference photo. I literally just see what kind of a face comes out of my sketching, because it's going to be different every time. And I just take it more, instead of it being realistic, I take it more the whimsical route, and I like to just add in some very dreamlike elements, like the cosmos back behind them and the stars. And sometimes I add wings, and I turn my portraits into angels. And I actually did that 12, 15 years ago or so, on these little collectible cards, and I sold them on eBay. It was really cheap, it was just a kind of a fun art exchange you can do on eBay. Excuse me. But hang on, y'all. Okay, let's see if that helps. Sorry about that. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and so I'm trying to get back into that again, and I'm just finding myself drawn back to the little angel and fairy drawings I used to do. It's funny because for a while now, recently, getting back into my art, I've been drawn to landscapes and wanting to focus on the ocean and the sky and clouds, and even just some beautiful night sky pictures that are very colorful, and sort of like trying to capture, you've seen the photographs of from telescopes, like nebulas or whatever they're called, all these beautiful scenes, right, from the heavens, and just all these brilliant colors. And so I've been trying to do that too with watercolor. Watercolor's somewhat of a new medium for me, but I've been challenging myself, and landscapes and trees, and I love nature. And just even around Christmas I was painting coffee mugs with hot cocoa in them, and that was fun. I like all of it, and that's the thing, from teaching little kids, you expose them to all these different types of art, even clay. And I'm sure if I had been teaching, older kids, middle or high school, I would have been showing them, some carving and all these different things. The little kids, I even taught origami and stuff like that, and I love that too. So I love all of it. It's really hard for me to pick, but I'm getting back into it all, and I love it. And that's just it's healing, and I think it's also a great sign of healing, like a whole new level of healing that I have reached. But let me share this. As far as portraits, this came to mind when I was making notes. I wrote it down, so I'll share it with you all. So years ago, and I've looked since then and can't find it. I don't think this shop is out there anymore, but back when I was doing art as a hobby, 12, 15 years ago or so, I was collecting it too. I like to support artists as well. And I like to have other people's art, in my house and on my walls and stuff too. But I was searching for portraits on Etsy, and there was this Etsy shop. And, when you do a search, it's kind of like it just pulls up the items from all these various shops, and they're all mixed in together. Excuse me. So there were these images that popped up in my search that I didn't expect. And they were incredibly good. I mean, some of the most realistic portraits I've ever seen in my life. They were striking, but the thing is, they were zombies. And let me tell you, I've shared with y'all before, I love a good ghost story. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to like blood and gore and stuff, like with horror movies and all, I just can't get with it. I just can't. Especially now that I'm older and I know that evil truly exists in the world. Like, I for real can't get with that stuff. That's just me. And hey, look, no judgment if you're into that. It's just me. I just can't really get into it. But my point here in talking about what we take in, what we expose ourselves to, when these images popped up, it's kind of like it just sort of burns itself into your brain, and you're like, it's just like this. It's shocking. It's basically the element of shock, which we're going to talk about today. This is relevant, I promise. But it's like, I was shocked on one hand because it was so amazingly good. But on the other hand, it was disturbing. So, there's something about that. And that is this. We remember what affects us. It's kind of like all of that shopping around for art, just that I want to collect for me from other artists. Of all of it that I looked at and that I collected, that's something that is probably in the forefront of my mind. Not always, but it just is, from time to time. And it's because it was so shocking. And so that's something we can learn from, which is the shock factor. Okay? Think about it. If a celebrity makes the news, it doesn't matter whether it's for good news or bad news, something positive or negative. If they make the news, I know I've heard this before. It's been stated that, they're, like, say even they go through this great, huge, not like great isn't good, but like huge controversy, something going on in their personal life and it's bad or negative or whatever. Well, if they're coming out with a movie right after that, typically it's kind of like the bad news about this person reminded everyone of them and brought attention to them, and so people are thinking about this celebrity, and so they're more likely to go, and purchase, a ticket to go to the movies and see it. And the sales, typically the opening weekend or whatever they call it, the sales are usually through the roof if something has, gone down in this person's life and made the news. Again, doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. So what happens is anything that is very dramatic or just overdone, just a extreme type, something that grabs our attention, it's something that our mind can latch onto. And I think that it happens in our personal life sort of in the subconscious way where we don't realize this is happening. Our mind has hooked into something that really got our attention. And there's other ways too, but one of the main ways is that we are shocked by something, okay? And so we hook into that. And our mind is working on it, is chewing on it, or however you want to call it, processing in the background. And So I want to look at the word attention. This was kind of interesting. Y'all want I'll look this up in my English Latin dictionary. From the English attention, that we have the Latin attentus, meaning attentive, careful, frugal, and industrious. Okay? And then we have animus, also related to anima, meaning intellect, understanding, mind, state of mind, thought, etc. So, attention is about your mind, and about your mind being industrious and working and just trying to understand and producing thoughts. It's kind of like when something gets our attention, it sets off this chain of events where our mind goes to work. Okay? So, think about this. If you have someone who is a manipulator, a wolf in sheep's clothing, someone who, again, my channel is not meant to be negative, it's meant to be educational, specifically for discernment purposes, right? To protect ourselves, stay safe. If a manipulator knows these kind of processes that happen within, our psyche, it's just sort of automatic, it's how we're made, then they're going to exploit that. Now, whether all of these manipulators know this or not, I don't know. But here's the thing. And if you hear my dog, I'm sorry, she's right next to me on the couch sleeping, and she dreams. And she'll run and bark and growl, and she's growling right now, barking in her sleep. But if a manipulator can get our attention, I think that this can play into creating what they call the trauma bond. And it just means that our mind has been hooked into a task of wanting to figure things out, of wanting to get understanding, So there's like this constant thought stream running, trying to figure out this person, if they're being confusing. Because we know that a lot of times these people, especially if they're lying, some part of you knows, even if it's not your conscious awareness. But you're very confused. And so, yeah. Again, we're wired to use our minds via thought to achieve understanding. And I would say whether consciously or unconsciously, or subconsciously rather. So, let's talk about the shock factor. Like, what does that mean? Well, I didn't write this down, but let me just say this. I've said this before in previous videos too. I think that that's what shamans intentionally use to help a person heal, to break the chains of a trauma bond. I think that that's why, the uneducated person's going to look at a shaman in their elaborate garb and watch them dance and do all their dramatic displays of theater or whatever, and they're going to think, well, they're crazy. Or, why would anybody consult someone like that for help, But the truth is, they have I feel like an ancient understanding that has been effective through the ages, amongst all different tribes around the world. And that is, part of that at least, is they understand the value of utilizing extreme, safe, and ethical, but extreme practices, a lot of times like putting on a show or a dance, right? To instigate the shock effect in a person who is seeking their help, because it's like tapping. If you can shock a person, I imagine, it's like you are tapping into a different part of their psyche where their trauma bond resides. It's like you're breaking that and shattering it, all right? Like taking a chisel to it, busting it into a million pieces, and breaking them free from the trauma bond. That's how I see it. But the shock factor works because why? Why does our mind go to work on a task trying to figure it out? Because Something is only shocking if it's unfamiliar to us. If we have seen, for example, going back to my example earlier about finding the very realistic portraits of zombies, if I was a person who watched very gory horror movies all the time, then when those came upon my feed when I was looking for art, it wouldn't shock me so much. If I had been exposed to it a lot. Y'all excuse me, I'm trying to talk through all this congestion. But because it's not something that I regularly expose myself to, then it was shocking. It was kind of unfamiliar to me. So there's a relation or a correlation between being shocked or the shock factor on one's psyche and one's psyche not being familiar or having exposure to something. And then, of course, you can rope in the concept of fear. I think a long time ago I heard a saying someone was talking about. I don't know who to attribute this to. Like, we only fear what we don't understand. That plays a part too sometimes, depending on the circumstances. But it creates confusion. And that's the task. The mind goes to work because you're confused. There's something unfamiliar. And as far as the level of shock, it can be extreme, it can be mild. It's a spectrum, you know. But your mind's going to go to work in the background, whether you know it or not. And that is what creates I wouldn't say prison, but you are what they call trauma bonded. Okay, it's here. And it's here. Your emotions are a big part of it too, but I'm focusing today on, the mental part. All right. I think that it's normal I don't know if I'd say normal, it's common. Yeah. It's human nature, let's say that. For people to have like an extra amplified greater interest in things when they are a mystery. And so I think that sometimes that even gets sort of corrupted unintentionally among groups of people who like to sit around and gossip, because I think that, let's just take, for example, people that sit around and talk about other people sometimes. It's like, that always bothered me too, like different workplaces. I feel like it happens everywhere. Anytime you have a large group of people, they're going to break into smaller groups, and you have cliques and stuff like that. But anyway, I thought that we would grow out of that out of school. I say we, I never cared for that kind of stuff. But I was hoping everyone would grow out of that when we, beyond high school. But no, as we know. But stay on track here. So the thing is, I think that we can unconsciously create a mystery. I'm having this song come to my mind. I think it's Sarah McLachlan, Building a Mystery. Haven't heard that song in forever. But I think sometimes we can do that unintentionally. Just like, well, I heard this. Well, I heard that. Well, how about instead of sitting around and talking about it, somebody just go ask the person. Like, hey, listen, here's what's going around, If you really care and want to know. But instead, it's like, hey, let's create this mystery and then speculate. It's something to do, I guess. That's why people do it. But my point here is, I do think that it's human nature to have an interest in mysteries. And the reason I think that is because it's part of our hardwiring for survival. It's like a survival mechanism. Just to make sure that it's kind of like we feel like if we can understand everything all around us, our environment or whatever, then we can protect ourselves. When the truth is, I feel like real protection comes from above. But so I have no idea why I shifted gears and went into this other topic, but I'm going to read it. I wrote these notes much earlier today, about, 5 hours ago or so. I tried to read through them before I filmed, but to remind myself that I forgot about this part. But let's dive in. So I was talking earlier in the video about how there's things that we want to do, and then things that we need to do. Okay. And I think there's different approaches to how you tackle this every day. Some people think you should wake up and get the thing you need to do done, so you know it's not kind of like overshadowing your day. It's like you feel accomplished and gives you a sense of motivation, and you're energized at that point to go and enjoy doing the things you want to do. That's one approach. Another approach is that you can feel more satisfied by doing something you want to do or treating yourself first in the day, and then that helps you to more effectively stay on task with the things that you need to do. So there's all kind of different schools of thought, right? But I think that when it comes to putting off things that you need to do, procrastinating, I think that for me at least, and I'd be curious to know, if you actually thought about this, if you could identify this within yourself. I think that for me, part of it is I overcomplicate things. And it's kind of like I create a mystery moment to moment because I'm trying to always improve, and I'm thinking about cleaning and organizing my house. It's like I know where everything goes, and I know what to do to organize and clean up and stuff, but there's a part of me, and I think this maybe is just tied to my hunger for creation, because I haven't for a long time been investing in my art, So if you think about it through the lens of creation, this makes sense. It's sort of like, well, if I'm going to spend my time today doing some cleaning and organizing, which I would really rather create and make art, then as I'm cleaning and organizing, I'm going to make or create a better system here, storage or whatever. But that slows you down, because now your mind has been given like this secondary, overbearing task. Not just pick up and clean up and organize, but redo it differently. And so it's fun. I like to think about things like this, like evaluating my own mind and asking questions like why? Why did it take me, an hour to do this chore when it should have realistically only taken me 20 minutes? And if I evaluate it, it's like, okay, I get it. It's because, I was trying to think of a better way to do it or whatever it is. So there's this spirit of creation wanting so bad to come through you that it's sort of, because you're not honoring it, it's getting in the way of this other task that would have been totally sufficient and good enough if you'd have just done it the way you've always done it. So, but let's see. Let me read my notes because I totally bypassed my notes, y'all. Yeah, I wrote, we may find ourselves stuck in an improvement mindset, which can slow us down. And then what happens when you're like, man, I just, the whole day went by and I only got half done that I wanted to get done and I truly thought I could have gotten done. And so it just slows you down, it bogs you down, and then that kind of sucks the motivation out of you, and you feel even more tired and drained, earlier in the day, and then you really don't have any time to do the things you want to do. So there's something to be said about how the mind works with wanting to create, with wanting to figure things out, how that affects our everyday life in a way where we're largely not even conscious of it, just in our daily life, and also how people who manipulate us can exploit that, whether they know what they're doing or not. It can be exploited, and then we're just, hooked in that way. It's just something to think about, because the mind, it wants to stay busy. It wants that, and it's sort of like, what's that old saying? I didn't write this down, it just came to me. The mind is a wonderful servant but a terrible master, it's kind of like that. But yes, so I think that if you've experienced manipulation in your life, I think that a person who is very skilled in it, who has conned people, for a lack of a better word, for a long time, and who has what they call honed their skill, I think that they intentionally, at times, present an air of mystery to entice people to want to get to know them and want to get close to them to figure them out. And what ends up happening is, from on the receiving end point, especially if it's someone you care about, they can kind of fluctuate. They can be come across just kind of normal, and the conversation with them can be just normal and be flowing perfectly fine 1 minute, and then the next minute they can just act very aloof and strange, and you are left wondering what's going on. And so at that point, you can go into what they call, this state of confusion and sort of brain fog, and you're not able to focus. So your focus gets hijacked, and you can wind up blaming yourself, like, why can't I stay focused on the things I need to do? Well, it's because you're not acknowledging that your mind isn't just asleep or zoned out, really. It's actually already busy, just not in your conscious awareness. It's already busy running, trying to make sense of this strange stuff and this person you really care about. Like, why did they just change from being very open and talkative to, aloof and mysterious, and you can't get any answers out of them or whatever. Even if you try to push through your day, because maybe this has happened many, many times with this person, you're going to find that you just can't get anywhere. That's why I think we can wind up over time getting stuck in like this freeze state. And it's because your mind is just chugging away back there, trying to make sense of all this. Your focus gets hijacked. And it's sad because it affects every area of your life. It really does. Down to self-care and your health and everything. But I just wanted to have this talk with you all. It's a little bit shorter video tonight. Just to bring these mechanics of our psyche that are sort of like on the down low in the underworld part of our psyche. I wanted to bring that up to the light, to your conscious awareness, because I think that it's been so helpful for me, and so I'm hoping it'll be very helpful for you. And then, of course, as we become more and more aware of excuse me, y'all, these mechanics, it's sort of like we can intercept them and work with them from there, and not just be taken for a ride, by these unconscious processes within our psyche. So I hope this got the wheels turning for you in a good way. I hope it was helpful. I hope that it brought you some good insights. I hope you're doing well. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts you feel called to share in the comments, I'd love to read those. And I just hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.